Okay, now a lot of Nigerians have welcomed this judgment. They say, wow, restructuring has started. The stranglehold the governors have on the local councils has been losing and all that. But there are others that have also raised concerns about the judgment. Some have said, yes, we agree with the Supreme Court over the issue, on the issue of elected officials. Local councils must be administered by elected officials. We agree with the Supreme Court on monies meant for local government being given to them from the state local government joint account. But some have expressed reservation over the Supreme Court's nullification, apparently, of Section 162, subsection 6, 7, and 8, state's local government account. Their argument is that the Supreme Court has turned itself into a constitution-writing body. Let's get your perspective.
Thank you for having me. I think it is an interesting development. The truth of the matter is that Section 162 of the Constitution is clear regarding how revenue of states, local governments, and the federal government is to be distributed. Principally that amount standing to the credit of the federal government goes to the federal government, that of the state goes to the state. However, the framers of the Constitution, for reasons best known to them, decided to establish what is called the state joint local government account, into which funds standing to the credit of local government councils in the federation are paid to in the various states for disbursement to the various local governments. But what we have witnessed is that this special account became basically a special purpose vehicle for lawless governors in Nigeria to siphon local government funds. And I say that with little or no exceptions. Majority of our governors since 1999 have demonstrated a sort of unapologetic disdain for our democracy, for accountability. The governors in Nigeria have operated as the criminal mafia. Nobody holds them accountable, not the House of Assembly, not the judiciary. Nobody checkmates the excesses of our governors. So what the Supreme Court has done, to my mind, appears to be a pragmatic, in some sense, a pragmatic intervention to address the continued desecration of the intendment of Section 7 of the Constitution that provides for a system of democratically elected local government council, and Section 162 of the Constitution, which enjoins that funds standing to the credit of local government council shall be paid to the state joint accounts for disbursement. Now, my reservation about this matter is that while it is important for the local government system to function and not just to exist as appendages of state governments, we need to ask ourselves the question, and I'm not certain that the intervention or the decision of the Supreme Court has answered that question. Namely, do we really have democratically elected local government councils in Nigeria? Shorn of the, beside the comic display that we see occasionally in some states in the name of elections, there is a consensus, or at least a strong opinion in this country, that we do not really have local government systems. At least, to my mind, I have seen many of these so-called sham elections in many states. The governors basically sit in government houses, write names of their stooges, of their loyalists, hand the names over to the State Electoral Commission. I have intentionally omitted the word independent, because if you put the word independent into the name of these commissions, it is a mockery of our Constitution. They are neither independent nor autonomous. State electoral commissions have become willing tools and partisan agents of every political party in power at the various states. So while the Supreme Court is saying that we should not have caretaker committee, Nigeria must ask a question. do we really have democratically elected local government councils? Because when they pretend to be conducting elections at that level, what you will see is that in states controlled by the PDP, those who are returned as councillors and chairmen, in most cases, are 100% members of the party in power at the state. In the state controlled by the APC, it is exactly the same thing, except with few exceptions, very few exceptions. So I do not agree that we have local government system, democratically elected local government system. At the same time, we cannot support caretaker committees.
So how do we resolve this problem? The popular opinion is let's wrestle the powers from CX and donate it to INEC.
Well, INEC itself has not been able to redeem itself. I think Nigeria is at a crossroad. We are in a situation where we are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Nigeria is currently being entrapped. It's under the entrapment of constitutional vandals, individuals who have arrogated to themselves the power of despots, the power of kings, who cannot be questioned. The solution lies with the Nigerian people, not the courts. Because with proper respect to the courts and the judiciary, in electoral matters, I am one of those who believe that the judiciary may not really be able to guarantee credible elections, because politicians will do what they want to do and believe that nothing will happen. And as a matter of fact, as a matter of historical fact, politicians who rig elections are the ones who taunt their opponents to go to court. Look at the sham that happened recently in Kogi State in the name of election. At the end of the day, those who were aggrieved went to the tribunal affirmed the election, and just about barely 48 hours ago, the Court of Appeal has also affirmed the election.
Okay.
So we are now seeing a situation where our electoral process is being constantly and consistently bastardized.
Okay.
And it does appear that, there is, the court does not really give, the sort of hope in electoral justice that Nigerians are yearning for. And that is not really to blame the judges. I am just saying that our institutions are weak. I am saying that INEC is not independent. How do you explain the governors to respect to conduct democratic elections?
Okay.
To allow democratic elections?
Okay.
When the president
Barrister Inibehe, sorry to cut you short. So you don't see anything wrong with the nullification apparently of section 1662, subsection 67 of the Constitution, the state local government joint account? Is there nothing wrong with the action of the Supreme Court?
Well, I started by saying that this is an intervention by the Supreme Court. It does appear that this was a sort of a necessary judicial intervention. Don't forget that prior to yesterday's judgment, the Supreme Court had decided in the past that caretaker chairmen or transition committees in local governments are unconstitutional. And by virtue of section 287 of the Constitution, decisions of Supreme Courts are binding and enforceable, binding on all authorities and persons. So maybe this is the Supreme Court trying to give voice, give life to his previous pronouncements. Yes, I understand the argument that section 162 is clear regarding state joint local government account. But we are not in a country that has respect for the rule of law.
The argument, Barrister Inibehe, by...
In a country that people do not really have respect for the Constitution.
The argument by some lawyers is that a Supreme Court can only, of course, a lawmaking body, as it were, can only make pronouncements that will become law only when there is a lacuna in the Constitution. But where a Constitution made by the people expressly makes a provision that the Supreme Court can only amend or can only interpret those constitutions and not to nullify it and bring in something new. How will you react to that?
Well, again, I understand that argument, but let me be clear. I think what the Supreme Court did yesterday is to avoid being thrown into, helplessness. Because before you criticize the decision of the Supreme Court, you need to ask yourself the question: is it only the justices of the Supreme Court that have sworn an oath to defend the Constitution? Have governors not sworn the same oath? Has the president not sworn the same oath? Nigeria is a lawless country, and sometimes I said it as a lawyer and people are upset about it. The Supreme Court had to intervene because politicians have shown disdain for our Constitution.
Okay.
Right? You are saying that the Supreme Court has nullified a constitutional provision. How about Section 7? Is that not a constitutional provision that says that there shall be a system of democratically elected local government councils?
And that is what the
has that
Supreme
not
Court
been respected?
strengthened.
Why
Okay.
has that not been respected?
Okay.
Even that Section 162, that state joint local government account, is the money for local government meant for the benefits of governors? How many governors in Nigeria since 1999 can account for local government funds?
Okay.
How many of them?
We have to thank you so much, Barrister Inibehe Effiong, for your intervention, straightening out the wider legal implications for the judgment from the Supreme Court. Thank you so much.